Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Andy, can you hear me okay? Oops, we might have some issues there. So, welcome to the webinar. Today's topic is performance reviews and how to manage potential instead of performance. My name is Martin Lanik. I'm a CEO at Pinsight, and here together with me is Andy Crawford, and Andy leads our business development efforts. So just to give you a little bit of background on Pinsight, we are a software service company that operates in about 30 countries and multiple languages, and we support clients in various talent management efforts ranging from hiring to succession planning to high potential identification. And here I just put some sample clients that we have worked with. As far as languages, so we operate around the world, and you can see some of the languages that we support our clients with. Since we're talking about performance appraisals, we thought it might be fun to just list some top 6 things that managers do to screw up the performance appraisal process. Number 1, managers often compare employees with each other, and by these comparisons, they're often not able to arrive at the correct rating for them or make those distinctions on competencies. Stupid thing number 2, forgetting appraisal is about improvement and not blame. So it is very difficult to give feedback for improvement, and there's a lot of fineness around how that is worded, and managers are just not generally good at that. Stupid thing number 2, thinking a rating form is an objective and impartial form. And we know from decades of research that, yes, as individuals, there are politics and there are relationships, and those cloud our judgment. So the tool itself and the responses on those tools are not always as objective as we might think. And stupid thing number 4, believing that managers are in a position to accurately assess staff. So research actually shows that managers have about 40 to 50% chance of accurately identifying someone's potential. So it's probably better off just flipping a coin. Stupid thing number 5, calling or postponing appraisal meetings. So Andy mentioned to me that in his previous position, his manager was just so worried about delivering feedback to his employees that those meetings would always get canceled or postponed. And stupid thing number 6, surprising the employee during the appraisal process. So collecting information, not sharing information or feedback on a day-to-day basis, but then all of a sudden surprising them once a year with a negative feedback. So these are just some of the things that employees have or that managers struggle with. And when we think of performance management then as a system applied in an organization, this poses some challenges. So generally in organizations, whether you use software or use Excel or some sort of performance rating forms, this is what the performance management process looks like. So you start with manager ratings. Then these ratings get fed up into some sort of an analytics or organizing framework such as the 9-box grid, then later informs talent reviews with the hope that will improve performance of individuals. But as the research has suggested, performance management as it is today does not really work. There are many issues with it, and as a result, money and resources are wasted on a process that is not resulting in improving performance of individuals. So why doesn't this work? There are 3 main reasons that we have identified through research. First and foremost, managers are undertrained and overworked. So it takes a great amount of effort to rate their employees and a great amount of attention to detail. So managers have to take notes on an everyday basis and then use this information to collect this information throughout the year and put it on those forms. And in today's organizations, they're managing larger and larger groups of staff. So this becomes a big chore for them. Helpful feedback often backfires. So even feedback for improvement, even if it's delivered well, research shows that employees are generally close to it, and it does not lead to improved performance. In fact, this negative type of feedback for improvement can actually lead to counterproductive work behaviors, such as stealing from the organization or bad-mouthing the organization to outsiders. And then organizational politics make the appraisal process and performance reviews toothless or heartless. In some cases, there are relationships, and when performance reviews are tied to promotions or any type of desirable outcomes, managers are reluctant to distinguish between top performers, mid performers, low performers. So what you end up with is little variation in performance appraisals altogether. So most employees are getting average ratings or above average ratings. On the flip side, maybe the appraisal comes as a complete surprise because the manager does not communicate with direct reports daily and does not get feedback to their direct reports on a day-to-day basis. So then there's a big surprise once a year, and if it's feedback for improvement, it is perceived as heartless and not received well. So now let's look at how much money an average organization would be spending on a performance management system. So Corporate Executive Board has estimated that the average manager spends about 200 hours per year on activities related to performance reviews. And these activities include anything from collecting data, so collecting observations, organizing their thoughts for the appraisal form, filling out those appraisal forms, entering data into a software if it's a software type of application, participating in calibration discussions, giving feedback to the employees, and so forth. So when we put a dollar amount value on this, for a company of 10,000 employees, that's 35 million per year. That is essentially wasted on performance management, because research has shown that it does not really lead to improved performance of employees. So you might be asking, what's the alternative? And I want to preface this that there are organizations like Accenture or Microsoft, for instance, that have completely abandoned performance management and are moving away from this practice. When we think of performance management, it grew out of a traditional HR function. So it is very much focused on the past and documenting the achievements, goal accomplishments of employees. And then from this information, we are trying to make predictions of the future. However, that does not always work, and I'll come back to this. But the overall goal of performance management is very much focused on the individual employees and improving performance of the individual employees. The larger strategy or strategic goals of the organization are not part of the picture generally. So now compare that with potential management. So once you start managing the potential of individuals, this becomes part of a talent management function. So it's much more future-oriented, and it is a strategic intervention because you're looking at the strategic goals of the organization and asking how you can achieve those strategic goals. So potential management then leads and aligns other talent management functions or fits into those, so such as succession planning or high potential identification, leadership development, and so forth. But the main difference is that the goal is very strategic. So we are, with potential management, we're trying to identify who are the employees that have the highest potential to help us achieve our strategy as an organization. And because the question is different, we have to start with a different type of data in the beginning. And we would not be, as a result, starting with performance reviews, because we know that they are very limited in their quality. but rather we would start with assessments of the individual employees' potential. So I wanted to make this distinction right here because we'll be now focused more on the potential management rather than performance management. So you've seen a similar flow chart just a couple minutes ago. And the main point here to remember is that you already have a process in place in your organization, because the way you are managing performance and potential from a process perspective is going to be similar. The only difference is the very first part, so the beginning, and then the very end of this process, or your ultimate goal. So I'll start with the end. So your ultimate goal with potential management is achieving your organizational strategy. So achieving those strategic goals, strategic imperatives, strategic initiatives, whatever you call that in your organization. But that is the ultimate goal of potential management. And you would be starting from a different place. So rather than asking managers to complete ratings and complete the assessment of individuals' performance or potential, you actually ask them to nominate who do they think are the top performers or mid-low performers, and then you run them through an assessment. Once you run them through assessment, the assessment populates your analytics such as a 9-box grid, readiness analysis, and so forth, and this information then would feed into the talent review where you make decisions about the talent. So from an implementation perspective, it's just a matter of replacing the front end and then being much more focused on what the strategy of the organization really is. So I'll dive a little deeper here into the manager nomination. So we'll be simplifying, in potential management, you're simplifying the job of managers quite significantly, because simply based on their day-to-day observations of talent, you are asking them to identify who are the top performers who should be considered for vertical move, and who are the mid to low performers that you want considered for development. And then these individuals are invited to your annual assessment program. You run them through the assessment and then compile the assessment data, and that assessment data then informs your talent reviews. Now, your talent reviews are going to look very different, so it's not going to be a matter of calibrating managers on what do you mean by performance and how is it different from potential, but rather you'll be focused on validating the assessment data and now focusing on the future. So what do we do with these individuals? And for top individuals who are, for instance, ready now based on their assessment results, then you apply some retention strategies. Individuals, when you have open positions, for instance, would be ready for promotion, so you could start making promotion decisions. Then succession planning, so who are the successors for key positions? Who are the high potentials, individuals that you can develop relatively quickly to help you achieve the strategic goals? And then also aligning the training and development function, so looking across the organization and across the board to understand what are the key development gaps of our team, tied again to the strategy. So I've been talking a lot about the strategy, and you might be asking, well, how do I link potential and assessments to strategy? So we at Pinsight have identified that there are 4 things that essentially determine readiness of an individual to strategy. And by strategy, I mean your strategic goals. So is your organization looking to build new product services? Are you refocusing the organization or core business? Are you focused on increasing customer satisfaction, enhancing operational efficiency, or building strategic alliances with vendors? So these are the types of strategies that you have identified, maybe for the overall organization or for different business units. And now the question of the assessment here in the potential management process is what are the key characteristics of individuals that determine whether they are ready to achieve these strategies or not. So there are 4 things here. We have the individual's current skill, and then we have the individual's motivation to actually apply those skills on a day-to-day basis. There's the individual's learning agility, how open they are to learning, and how easy or developed is it to develop the skills where they have development gaps. So for example, planning and organizing, much easier to develop than speaking with charisma. And based on this information then, based on the assessment results of these 4 pieces of these 4 characteristics of the individual, you can start placing them in 4 buckets. So you can identify talents that is ready now to achieve the strategy. You can identify talents, your high potentials that you can develop relatively quickly, so in about 6 months. Then the next talent pool would be individuals who could be ready in 12 months. And then you draw the line and say, if we cannot develop these individuals in a year or less, we'll just say they're not ready right now. We'll assess them again next year and then make a decision on where they move. So once you have characterized your talent in these 4 buckets, then you can be much more intentional on the strategies. So are you focused more on retention, more on development? And where do you focus your development dollars? So for example, individuals who are ready now, these are the individuals who are most at risk for leaving the organization. So you need to focus on retaining these individuals. On the flip side, people who are just not ready at this time, they need development, but they are so far out that it's probably not worth investing a lot of money and resources into them because you'll have limited return on investment. So it's the individuals who you can develop quickly. So in about 6 months, the high potential individuals. These are the ones where most of your training and development dollars should go towards. So some more expensive interventions like coaching or stretch assignments or leadership training, all of those efforts should be focused on individuals that you can develop in a relatively short period of time. Now I'll take you through an example of what some of these analytics can actually look like. So let's say that we have nominated 6 individual contributors for a management position. This is part of our annual assessment program. And then in this particular business unit, we are looking at boosting innovation on the team and increasing customer satisfaction. So these are the 2 strategies. Now these individuals have gone through the assessment, and now I'm just going to be looking at the results so that I could be bringing them into the talent review discussions with managers and start making some decisions. So first, in this particular case, the software is doing all the analysis for you. So the individuals go through the assessment, they complete it, and then the data is stored in the cloud, and the assessment is calculating their readiness based on the particular strategies that you see on the top. So if I were to select a different combination of strategies, I would get different results that are calculated in real time. So let's first look at the readiness. So here I am putting my individual contributors in 4 buckets: ready now, ready in 6 months, ready in 12 months, not ready at this time. And let's say that in this particular case we're considering a vertical move. So I'm looking at which of these individual contributors is ready for a promotion and step into a first level supervisor type of position. So I have one person, Melissa, who is ready now. So this is an individual. If I have an open position, I would place in that position, offer a promotion to her. If I don't have anything open at the moment, I would start focusing on retention strategies here. I have several individuals who I can develop relatively quickly in about 6 months. These are my high potentials, so I'm going to be investing more in their development. And then Jerome right here is a person who is just not ready at this time. Now, if I facilitate a talent review, would be very useful for the manager, for the group of managers, is a 9-box grid. And this is a 9-box grid, very traditional, that you are probably familiar with and have seen before. But the difference here is that this 9-box grid is tied directly to the strategy. So if I were to select a different combination of strategies, I would have a different grouping of individuals. So we said that Melissa here, maybe we offer a promotion to her, and here Jerome, we're just not going to develop him. So I have here a group of people who are my 4 individual contributors who are my high potentials, and I can move them into a leadership position relatively quickly, so in about 6 months. So now I can run a needs analysis as well based on the assessment data, and I can identify what are the most common development needs of this group. What is it that they struggle with and that I need to focus on developing them? And if you apply this type of analysis on a larger scale in the organization, that can help inform your training and development function and help you prioritize what are the courses, the e-learning modules, the action learning modules, and so forth, or coaching topics that I'm going to focus on, so that I'm zeroing in on the skills that the individuals, most of these individuals need. So I see immediately that out of my 4 high potentials here, I have all of them needing to increase their customer satisfaction or their focus on customer skills. So this is something that I would definitely include in the in my curriculum. And I also see from this analysis here that this is something that's going to be easy for them to develop. And then we have developing capable teams as another skill that they need to work, and empowering others. So these would be 3 things that I can immediately start working on as I'm developing these individuals. At the same time, I have some skills here that all of them need development on, such as innovating or creating urgency, overcoming individual resistance, but I see that they're actually going to struggle. So these are difficult to develop skills, and I'm not going to see a lot of progress in about 6 months. So I'll have to think twice before I decide to go down the path of developing these skills. So this is just an example of, to give you a little flavor of what potential management process can look like, and what are some of the things that, some of the analytics that you can be bringing on. So I realized that we scheduled this for 30 minutes, and right now it leaves us about 5 minutes for questions. So if you do have any questions, please place them in the chat window, and I'll be happy to answer those. If you don't have any questions, we'll actually be compiling the list of questions and then sending them out to everyone. So please do ask them. And I want to thank you for your attention today. If you'd like to learn more about Pinsight, or if you'd just like to brainstorm some ideas with us, both Andy and I are available, and here's our contact information. Do we have any questions? Let me take a look.
Hey Martin, this
Yes.
is Andy, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Fantastic. Hey, I appreciate you jumping in there. We had a few audio problems here, but this is a great information. Thanks for sharing with us today. One of the things I did want to send out there, if anybody has an example of some worst practices, we're trying to help people understand, and we're trying to understand what people are doing, how they're dealing with it. So if you have an example that you'd like to share with us, of course it'll be private. We'd love to, get you a Starbucks gift card for sharing that information. But I see too there that we do have a couple questions in the queue there. Yeah, we've got one that came in. How much of this information is shared back with the associate, Martin?
So that really depends. Depends on the culture of the organization. Our recommendation, of course, is to share the full assessment report with the candidate, so that you are as transparent as possible. And this information can essentially replace the performance appraisal or performance review. So the manager can be trained on giving feedback based on the assessment and acting more as an executive coach rather than management. And from experience, when the feedback is coming from a third party, such as in our case, it would be coming from a psychologist or assessors, then individuals are much more open to it.
Fantastic. Hey, we've got a 2-part question here. They'd like to know, was the pre-assessment part of the package or part of a third-party potential assessment? And also, they'd like to know how the assessment links to strategy and recommendations.
Yes, so that's a complex question. So let me maybe take it one at a time. So there are various assessment offerings on potential. So you can look at various vendors that range from learning agility type of assessments to personality assessments. In our case, we focus on a combination of assessments. So we take a simulation-based approach where we actually throw the individual in a fictitious company and then for 3 hours watch them how they go about their job, and then you have live assessors observing them and making the ratings. So there are various ways how you can assess potential, and then it'll just depend on how you set up the program, of course. So that's the first part of the question. Second part?
They wanted to see how the assessment links to strategy and recommendations.
Yes, so the link to strategy, I actually went over that, so I wonder if we got the question maybe before I went over that. So in our case, we've been able to link the different skills and the potential assessments to strategy based on our own research. So we consulted with leaders at different levels, so executive leaders, mid-level leaders, managers, to understand what is the set of skills that is most necessary to achieve a particular strategy in the organization. So that has been our link, or the way we have approached this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the fantastic things about it, is that you can link it directly to what your company's trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. Then we have another question here. Can you use similar assessments for the pre-employment testing process?
Yes, absolutely. So the idea is that you have the same standards for pre-hire and then performance management, because then you are focused on the same criteria and you are assessing people against the same criteria. So absolutely you should.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour. It is 12:30 here in the East Coast. Want to thank everybody for joining. We will be sending out the additional questions we get in. We'll send out a package with all the questions and answers for everybody to look at. If anybody would like to see a full demo on how this works and how it might fit with your organization, please feel free to contact us. And don't forget, if you've got a worst practice you'd like to share with us, if we were local, we'd buy you a cup of coffee personally, but if you're not, we'll get a Starbucks gift card out to you. Martin, wonderful. Any closing words for us?
Well, I want to thank everyone for their attention today, and as Andy said, we'd like to brainstorm together. Just feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to chat with you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the week, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.